Hi everyone. I'd like to thank those of you who watched the episode that aired on Viking.TV on Friday, the 24th of September of last year. I loved hearing from you and so appreciate all your lovely comments. The team at Viking is committed to bringing you more opportunities to learn about ways to bring wellness into your life. So with this in mind, they've asked me to do a Sunday series that will focus on different topics that will explore ways that can help you feel better, healthier, happier, more centered, resilient, and resourceful. My goal for this series of episodes is to share valuable tips and information that can help you manage your stress, your fears, and worries better. And of course, to bring you the tools that can help you reach your goals, improve the quality of your everyday, and even in these uncertain times, help you thrive. I teach my clients about the power of perception because it has the ability to change everything. When you learn to perceive what you see in a more positive way, the thing you see changes for the better without anything else having to change. So I'm going to be sharing valuable knowledge that can help you perceive all of your life in a way that makes you feel better about it. I believe that the key to living our best life is about learning to explore the world inside ourselves with a little curiosity, compassion, non-judgment, and self-love. And really exploring our inner world is about getting to know and feeling more at ease with all the emotional parts of us, the part of us that gets angry, that feels sad, that feels frustrated, guilty, that sometimes doesn't feel good enough, the part of us that I like to call the warrior that is always fearful. And of course, it's about learning to better connect with a part of us that experiences loss, that grieves. So future episodes are going to be about learning to build a healthier relationship with all these parts of us, with all our feelings, because this is such an integral part to learning how to grow wellness from within. We focus so much on what we don't want, who we don't want to be, that this is what our brain learns. In a sense, what we keep wiring into our brain. So one episode is going to focus on learning to use the power of your mind to rewire your brain in a way that supports what you do want and who you do want to become. One of the greatest gifts we have is the limitless power of our imagination, and learning to use it with the intent of creating positive change can be a huge resource in our life. So I'll be sharing ways that you can learn to use the power of your imagination to create more wellness and manifest desired change. Many of us have experienced insomnia at some point in our lives. So I'd like to devote an episode to sharing useful tips that can help you not only sleep better, but help you manage and improve the quality of those sleepless nights. I can't talk about wellness and not speak about forgiveness. What I've learned is that these two are intricately linked. So one episode is going to be about learning what forgiveness really means and how learning to forgive others, to forgive ourselves, is such an essential component to living our best life and being well. To start off this Sunday series will be 2 episodes on pain management. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because there's so much about pain that I wish I had known back in 2002 when I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, and then 7 years later when I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. I wish I had known that I had so much more control over how much I hurt than I knew. The more pain I felt, the more fearful I became, and the more fearful I became, the more pain I experienced. And the more it intensified, the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the stronger it became. I'm going to be sharing my journey and what helped me to break this cycle. The first episode is titled What You Never Knew You Wanted to Know About Pain and Your Brain. Whether the pain lasts for an hour, a day, or much longer, I hope to offer you valuable knowledge that you can use to help your brain sort those pain signals in a way that can help you experience less pain and discomfort. In the second episode, I'm going to be bringing you the tools that you can learn and practice to bring you relief from the pain and discomfort. It's an intimate and complex relationship that we can develop with the pain, especially if it's chronic pain. So I'm going to be introducing ways that can help you improve that relationship. I know that a better, more productive relationship is what allowed me to view the pain and discomfort from a broader and wiser perspective. And this led to remarkably positive changes emotionally and physically. My intention with these 2 episodes is to help you to view the pain and discomfort from a greater emotional awareness, because it was from this place that I finally understood that I didn't need a completely healthy bladder or a perfectly functioning digestive system to feel happy and healthy. Doctors couldn't fix my bladder, they couldn't fix my digestive system, but I still have the power to fix my life and improve the quality of my everyday. So I hope that you can welcome into your heart the possibility, as I did, that even if you're feeling pain or discomfort, that wellness is yours for the taking, waiting to be experienced and embraced. I believe that at our core, we are far greater than the sum of all our symptoms, than the sum of all our life experiences, than the sum of our financial statements, of our limiting thoughts, our fears, our concerns. I believe with all my heart that we are all pure potential and possibility. My clients are living proof of this. Whether or not this rings true for you, only you can decide, but I hope that you can be open to experiencing the truth of this for yourself. Socrates once said that belief is stronger than truth. Growing the resolve to believe, to embrace the thought that you are pure potential and possibility can bring you extraordinary wellness. Wellness isn't really a goal. It's a mindset that you can choose to grow and practice every day. And the present moment is always bringing you opportunities to do that. In the spirit of President Kennedy's famous speech, ask not what the present moment can do for you, but rather what you can do for the present moment to make it more special, to make it more meaningful. I hope that you will join me on this grand journey towards greater wellness, keeping in mind that it's a perfectly imperfect one, and that's perfectly okay. Thanks to Zoom technology, I'm now able to work with clients from all over. But whether a client lives in Miami, Oslo, or Timbuktu, if they want me to help them learn how to manage their pain better, I always ask for a referral from their doctor. And no, I don't mean Dr. Google. We may love a good mystery, but not when it comes to our body. And pain is an important messenger. It's what lets you know that something needs your wise attention and due diligence. Pain is what motivates you to take appropriate action. So if you have unexplained pain that doesn't go away, it's a sign that you need to seek professional medical advice and solve the mystery of what that pain is trying to tell you. Once my clients have done that, they come to me because they want greater control over their aches and pains and improve the quality of their life. But I always tell them that the first step towards doing that is to learn about pain and your brain. When you stub your toe, the pain that you feel doesn't come directly from your toe. Pain signals have to reach the brain first before you experience that ouch, that hurt. Now, there isn't one specific area in your brain that's responsible for processing the pain. Rather, it's many different areas in your brain that all work together to sort through and interpret those signals. When the pain signals reach your brain, simultaneously, it's taking in all this other sensory information. What you're thinking and believing in that moment, how you're feeling, your expectations, your attitude, the environment. Is it a peaceful one, a stressful one? And all this incoming data is contributing in a very real way to how intensely you experience the pain and how you perceive it. This is why two people can experience the exact same injury at the same time, at the same place, and yet the pain experience is going to be unique to each one because what's going on internally is unique to each one. It seems sometimes as though the pain controls us when we desperately need it to be the other way around. What I wish I had known when I was young is that we have more control than we realize, that we can learn how to use our mind to change our brain's perception of it. And whether it's acute or chronic pain, the way we perceive it influences the way the brain registers those pain signals, how it processes them, and how it does that in turn influences how much we hurt. My intention is to share what I now know so that if pain should ever come into your life, for however long that is, you'll have the valuable tools and knowledge that have helped me so much. When I stopped pursuing what I valued and doing the things that brought me happiness in order to accommodate the pain, I perceived it more intensely. And even though doing these things had the full blessing of my doctor, I still avoided them because I was afraid of the pain. I was afraid of taking it to places I enjoyed because I thought that if I stayed at home, I could manage it better. I was surviving, but I wasn't thriving, and that wasn't good for the pain. But when I set the intention to thrive, despite my fears, despite the pain and discomfort, I kicked myself off survival mode. I don't assume that what helped me can necessarily help you because, as I've said, everyone's journey and experience with pain is different. But I do hope that something I share can help you to explore your experience with pain with mindful awareness, and that somewhere along the way, this mindset can help you perceive it in a way that can help you open to the possibility that you can thrive a little more despite any pain or discomfort. What I learned from my instructor and wonderful hypnotherapist, Ron Eslinger, is that our thoughts matter. Our emotional state matters because pain is wrapped up in emotion. When I began to take the steps to improve how I felt emotionally, I began to feel so much better physically. What I teach clients is that every moment presents an opportunity to choose. Whether we wrap the pain or discomfort in negativity or we wrap it in a little positivity. But that living our best life is about learning to love ourselves and not judge ourselves, regardless of what we choose. Learning that physical pain has an emotional component was a real aha moment for me. So much so that I decided to train in medical hypnotherapy. Now, I'm very clear with my clients that I don't prescribe medication, I don't treat, I don't diagnose anything. But what I can help them do is to get to a place in their heart, in their mind, where they can view their disease and its symptoms from a higher emotional awareness. And often this is a game changer. Whether you're someone that's healthy and pain-free, or there is no cure for what ails you, it's possible for everyone to arrive at this place and improve the quality of everyday living. But in order to do that, we have to start with a little wonderful mindfulness and begin to observe and gently regulate those everyday automatic reactions. What can make any hurt feel more intense is the way we react to it, especially if you're someone that's already living with pain. Impatience and irritation don't cause pain, but they can contribute to it. Because these are feelings that can unconsciously make our body tense up and make our brain sort that information in a way that makes that hurt feel even worse. So let's say you're at the doctor's in the waiting room, waiting to be called for a blood draw. It's a good idea to gently remind yourself, especially if you're observing yourself becoming a little tense because, say, you've been waiting there for a while, to do something to help you relax. Because if you don't, you may just find that that blood draw is going to hurt a little bit more. One of the things that you can do is to shift your focus away from the thoughts that are stressing you out. So let's say you're thinking, oh, it's ridiculous that I've been sitting here for over half an hour, or traffic was so bad on the way here, or oh my God, I'm going to be late for work and the consequences of being late. And mindfully zero in on thoughts that can de-stress you. So for example, think about something you're looking forward to and imagine you're already there. Or watch funny videos on your phone. Practice and see what works for you. I know that I like to close my eyes and breathe mindfully and imagine that I'm in my happy place, because in my happy place, there's this amazing waterfall. And I love listening to the sound of the water. It really chills me out and relaxes me. You know those dumb accidents that happen to us when we're careless and distracted? Well, the next time that you bang your head or you hit your knee, instead of reacting with irritation and impatience at your clumsiness, try relaxing into the pain, breathing out that irritation, and saying something soothing and reassuring to yourself, forgiving that clumsiness. And you'll see that that can make such a difference. And you may just notice that those pain sensations tend to ease up that much sooner. Back when I was in my 30s, I cut my finger with a knife while I was slicing some veggies. Now, not long before this, my mother had been hospitalized for a blood infection when she cut her finger with a knife. So of course, here I am looking at my bloody finger. And in that instant, of course, I was experiencing the stinging from the wound. But I was also thinking, oh my God, what if I end up in the hospital? What if I get sepsis? What if I die? Who's going to raise my daughter? Because already, my brain had this information about my mother on file, and it was predicting the worst. So I'm imagining this scenario and looking at my finger, and I could feel my heart beating faster, my body tensing up. And what I didn't realize was that unwittingly, this fearful reaction was making my finger hurt more. What if I had just been able to look at my finger, take a few calming breaths, assess the situation? I would have seen that it wasn't a deep cut, that it would probably heal fine. I would have applied a little antiseptic, a Band-Aid, end of story. That finger would probably have hurt less. I realize now that I had the power to bring relief to that finger if only I had been more mindful about what I was telling myself. So now one of the first things that I teach clients is that the sensations you feel, the pain sensations, and your thoughts about them are two separate things. When you observe your pain, you're going to notice that there's the sensation itself. Is it throbbing, stinging, burning? Is it dull, sharp? And then there are your thoughts about it and how those are making you feel. Uncertain, angry, frustrated, anxious. The important thing is that both of these are helping to shape the way you're experiencing the pain. And when you switch to an observer role, it makes it easier to separate those uncomfortable sensations from our thoughts and feelings about them. Sometimes I think we suffer more from the after effects of our thinking than we do from the actual sensations of pain. So I have to constantly ask myself, okay, what's making me suffer here? Is it the heavy pressure, the throbbing pressure in my bladder, or is it my thoughts about it? Because we may not be able to directly influence those sensations, but we can control our thoughts and feelings that make us feel tense and make those sensations feel more intense. So I try and do my part by staying mindful and replacing those scary thoughts with ones that make me feel better, more positive. And then in this way, do my part to help bring more relief and comfort to my bladder. The pain and discomfort motivated me to take appropriate action. I went to the doctor, I got tests done, I got a diagnosis. But then what? My bladder and stomach didn't tolerate pain medication well. So what to do about the pain? Well, in the beginning, I thought the responsible thing to do was to start obsessing about it. And as this obsession grew, so did this loud, strict voice in my head, warning me, don't do this, don't do that, telling me to be on my guard so I wouldn't do anything to harm my bladder and stomach. I realize now that it was my brain trying to protect me, but this overzealous protection just made me more hypervigilant and controlling. My life revolved around controlling the symptoms of pain and discomfort, scanning ingredient labels, reading books about possible ways to heal my bladder, and reading about what foods to avoid. It was all about avoiding anything that would upset them, avoiding places that didn't have access to a bathroom, avoiding parties, avoiding dinners, because I just wasn't up to talking about what was wrong with me, why I couldn't eat many of the foods that were served, why I couldn't drink the wine. And as these chronic conditions slowly became my life became exhausting. What I didn't realize was that I was obsessing so much about guarding my bladder, my digestive system, that I was forgetting to live my life. So the journey, for me at least, was about learning to shift the focus from avoiding to embracing the good. Because if I didn't learn to enjoy my life with or without the pain and discomfort, then the pain and these chronic conditions were going to live my life for me. And that was a sobering thought. It really made me decide that no matter how uncomfortable I felt, no matter how much my bladder and tummy hurt, no matter if I was going to the bathroom every 10 or 15 minutes, I was going to have more fun and not be so serious. I was going to ease up on the complaining, the blaming, the struggle, the feeling sorry for myself. I was going to use the tools I was learning to retrain my brain to focus more on comfort and less on discomfort, to focus on the things that brought me comfort, on the parts of my body that did feel more comfortable. I was going to focus on the good things that I could still do, that I could still eat, on being more mindful about my blessings and searching for those silver linings. It didn't happen overnight, and certainly there were a lot of ups and downs along the way, but as my emotional frame of mind started to improve, so did my physical health, and I started to get better. In my first pain management course taught by Ron Eslinger, I learned that every time we have a thought, we're creating a new neuron in our brain. And if it's a thought about pain, we're creating a new pain responding neuron. Well, when I first heard this, my heart sank because I realized that if I wasn't in actual pain, I was thinking about it. I was wondering, when is this pain going to get better? When is it going to get worse? I was having thoughts that made my brain vigilant about it. And all this rumination was building this huge network of pain in my brain. I understand now that as my obsession with controlling the pain grew, the pain got worse. And the worse it got, the more that everything in my life that wasn't the pain or discomfort seemed to shrink. The longer the pain lasts, the more negative our thinking becomes, and the harder it becomes to think of anything except the pain. But what this is doing is just making more dominant this neural pain network in our brain. I realized that in order to shrink this network and grow a healthier, more mindful one, I had to start training my brain to focus on the things in my life that were going well, on the parts of my body that weren't hurting and were healthy. So I learned to ask my clients, what is everything good in your life that is not the pain? Who would you be without it? What would you be doing? And, many of them have to think about it because pain makes us forget. But I'm always after very specific, not vague answers, because I want my clients to get a very real and clear picture of what those answers look like, feel like, sound like. And then to the degree that they can, be that person, do that thing. And if it's not possible, then imagine being that person, doing that thing. Because what you vividly imagine, you make real in your mind and in your body. And when they do this and they begin to focus on all the good things in their life, what they're doing is weakening this pain network and growing a healthier, more mindful network that's helping them to believe in a future without the pain, making them more aware of all those blessings that pain seems to make invisible, and of their own potential. As I've said, the more we dwell on the pain, the more pain-responding neurons we're creating. And the more neurons we're creating, the more pain we may think that we have, or to be more precise, perceive that we have. Whether the root cause of the pain is emotional or physical, the energy and focused attention we send it can make that pain seem worse. This is why sometimes we can experience very little pain and yet be very aware of it, because the energy we're investing in that focus can make that pain seem more solid. And sometimes we can experience the familiar pain of arthritis and yet choose not to be as bothered by it, not to make it a big deal. And the less consumed we are with it, well, this makes it easier to free up our focus and shift our awareness to something more pleasurable. And when we're doing that, we're investing energy in feeling good. And the better we feel, the less pain we perceive. And the less pain we perceive, the better we feel. I wish I had realized this when I spent too much time having conversations about the pain, judging it, judging myself for having it. I was sending the pain so much energy that I was feeling depleted. And the more depleted I felt, well, the more pain I perceived. This makes me so mindful today to keep pruning the pain network in my brain so that it doesn't overgrow. And it makes me really mindful about catching myself when I'm thinking too much about it and trying to shift my focus into something that is going to make me feel better. It really motivates me now to imagine a future without the pain. When we're experiencing a pain flare-up, that's when it becomes so tempting to give it our focused attention. But that's also when we have to be especially observant about how often we're talking about the pain and discomfort, the way we're talking about it, how we're expressing our feelings to ourselves, to others. I remember that in the beginning, when I was having a bad day, I would say things like, oh my God, my bladder hurts, it hurts, it hurts, to anyone who would listen. I kept repeating this silently out loud. What I didn't realize was that my speech was contributing to my perception of the pain and intensifying it. I ask clients, listen, try and avoid saying things like, my pain is killing me, or, oh, this is such a pain in the neck, because sometimes the brain can take literally what we mean metaphorically. Also, I would notice that clients often said, oh, I'm in pain all the time. I too, in the beginning, used to say, my bladder hurts all the time. Or no matter what, my stomach always feels gassy and heavy. I too had to re-examine the truth of these statements. And when I did that, I realized that most of the time and some of the time wasn't all of the time. And that, in fact, my stomach didn't feel uncomfortable 24/7. It was just my focus on the not so good that was making my brain keep track of every time that it hurt or felt uncomfortable. The thing was, I was forgetting to make my brain also count the times when it didn't, when it felt a little more comfortable. When people would approach me and ask, are you feeling better? Has the pain abated? I would automatically answer no, because I think of my everyday reality and, well, this was the truth. But then I realized that actually I had to rethink this truth, because it was my focus on the not so good that was prompting that automatic answer. And I realized that I had to start changing that. So when people asked me the same question, I started saying, I feel better, even when I didn't. Now, in the beginning, I felt like a total liar. But then slowly, I started being able to say that with a little more conviction when I started to dig deep and search for the reasons to make this true. I started to zero in on comfort instead of discomfort, mindfully focusing on comforting things, thoughts, people, emotions. I remember that I used to say things like, I hate this pain, I hate you. What I didn't realize was that I was sending the pain this emotional energy of hate, and the pain would get angry. And when it got angry, I would feel worse. So now I'm very mindful about speaking in loving, reassuring ways to my tummy, to my bladder, because I don't know about you, but to me, love is the most comforting emotion. So now when my bladder is having an off day, I pretend that it's a colicky baby that no matter what you do, it just won't stop crying. And I'll pat it and soothe it and speak lovingly to it. And I realize that when I do that, I'm comforting the pain. I'm sending it love as well. And when the pain feels comforted and loved and reassured, well, at least my perception of it begins to feel better. My bladder and my tummy begin to feel better too. How we perceive the pain influences the pain itself, and perception begins with the word pain. Your brain takes its cues from you. And the language you use can make a huge difference in how you begin to perceive the pain. In Ron Eslinger's pain management course, I learned that words matter. They make a difference because words and thoughts have an effect on the brain's limbic system, which in turn influences the way we perceive and respond to pain. So I learned from him the value of encouraging my clients to use the word discomfort instead of the word pain. And the intention here is to take a word like pain, which has such a negative connotation, and reframe it in our mind so it sounds less negative. Now, in the beginning, I felt the way many of my clients do, that somehow using the word discomfort instead of pain, well, that it just didn't cut it. And that if I used it, then my doctor and other people wouldn't take me or the pain seriously. And honestly, I felt as though if I used the word discomfort, I was trivializing the pain. I was doing the hard reality of those painful sensations a disservice if I referred to them as discomfort. But I realized I had a choice. I could insist on using the word pain, or I could see what happened if I began to use the word discomfort. So, very bad pain became very bad discomfort. Now, there were times when I'd think to myself, wow, who am I kidding? This is pain. This isn't discomfort. But I stuck with it. And I began to autocorrect. Every time I used the word pain, I would replace it with the word discomfort. And with time, I began to notice something interesting, that my brain and my subconscious mind were starting to pick up more and more on the second half of the word, which is comfort. And this was important because I perceived the distance between discomfort and comfort as being a lot shorter than the gap between pain and comfort. So somehow feeling more comfortable just felt more attainable to me. And it also began to make such a difference in how I perceived the intensity of those uncomfortable sensations. And I'm not alone. One of my clients who experienced cancer, early on in our work, I taught her to use the word discomfort instead of the word pain. And she really took this to heart. And she told me that after her surgery, when she was in the hospital, the nurses would ask her, "Are you in pain?" And she would say, "No, I'm in discomfort." And she was adamant that that's what she felt. And she told me that what a positive difference it made in how she perceived those uncomfortable sensations in her body. So I highly encourage any of you that are experiencing pain to make the switch and start referring to it as discomfort instead, and see what happens when you do. As I began to practice using the word discomfort more, I noticed that the pain seemed to be a little bit less intense, less overwhelming. And this really motivated me to make other changes. I started to avoid using the word have. I see interstitial cystitis. I have IBS. I have an ache. I have discomfort. And instead swap out the word have for the word feeling, experiencing. So I started saying, I'm experiencing symptoms of IC. I'm feeling an ache in my bladder, a discomfort in my bladder. Why did I choose to do this? Well, because I perceive feelings and experiences as things that come and go, but something I have can stay with me forever. And it was important for me to perceive these uncomfortable sensations, the pain, as something that would eventually leave. And also, I started noticing that when I referred to the pain as my pain, or the symptoms as my symptoms, or the IC and IBS as my C or IBS, well, it had a possessive ring to it. And it was creating this unconscious impression in me that somehow I owned the pain, the symptoms, the IBS, and I didn't want my brain to get the wrong idea. And in a weird way too, it almost felt like the pain, symptoms, and the IBS or IC owned me. And well, there were times when honestly it felt that way, but I didn't want to reinforce that. I encourage my clients to refer to the pain as the pain, not my pain, because pain isn't something you want to get possessive about. So instead of saying, for example, my pain is driving me crazy, instead say the pain in my back or the discomfort in my back is making it hard to concentrate on anything else. And when, for example, they're saying I have pain in my knee, try saying I'm experiencing pain or discomfort in my knee. I know that on an off day, I'll say something like, oh, the symptoms of IC are really acting up, or I feel the IBS acting up today. The reason I use that wording is because perceptually speaking, it helps me to disassociate a little bit from the pain experience. So if you'd like to begin changing the way you perceive the pain, you might want to rethink the wording and see if it makes a bit of difference. Our expectations can influence the pain experience in good and not so good ways. Positive expectations make a good bedfellow for pain, but you don't want fearful ones to keep it company. Your experience or lack of experience with pain leads your brain to predict your future experience, and what it predicts, you learn to expect. So let's say you're someone who has never experienced intense pain, and you sustain an injury. Well, with proper treatment, you're probably going to expect that the pain is going to go away sooner rather than later. And this expectation serves you well. But let's say you're someone whose past experience with pain is making the brain predict a negative outcome. Well, then you may be thinking that the pain is probably going to go away later rather than sooner. And this thought may just make you feel irritated, anxious, worried. And of course, these feelings are probably making you tense. And tension is like that ever-ready battery that you just stick into your pain, that revs it up and keeps it going, leaving you feeling that like the pain may just take forever to go away. Research shows that the worst thing we can do is to expect that the pain will never go away, because this thought creates stress and tension that can prolong the pain experience. I had to learn to resist the temptation, to think that just because I was experiencing very intense pain at one moment, that moment, that intensity was going to last forever. I've learned that the nature of pain is to ebb and flow. Your brain, in an effort to be efficient, is going to tell you that if it hurt the last time, it's probably going to hurt this time. And if you factor in the brain's negativity bias, what you may just be hearing is, if it hurt the last time, it may just hurt even more the next time. So it behooves us to stay mindful and not allow our brain to predict future experiences based on the past. Yes, it may hurt the same, it may hurt more, but it's good to train our brain to stay open to the possibility that it's possible that it may hurt a lot less. It's possible that it may not hurt at all. Pain taught me early on that my bladder couldn't tolerate preservatives very well. Now, there was a brand of cookies that I loved, and sometimes, I just couldn't resist and I would eat one. But of course, I tensed up while I was eating it because I expected my bladder to be in discomfort afterwards. So I had to learn to relax and enjoy the cookie without expecting the worst. And really what I was doing was training my brain to stay open to the possibility that maybe my bladder wouldn't hurt or that I would barely feel it. And even if it did hurt, I was going to relish that cookie and skip the blame game. And what I discovered was that when I relaxed and when I was in the moment and ate that cookie, that I did experience less discomfort, if any. So if, for example, you're someone who experiences pain in the morning, avoid making that a fact by telling yourself repeatedly that you do, or to anyone that will listen, because when you subconsciously learn to expect the pain, this very expectation may just signal your brain to deliver it on schedule. Yes, you may wake up to pain 99% of the time, but be open to the possibility of that 1% manifesting. With your thoughts and attitude, you can train the brain to expect the unexpectedly good. And you know what? Yes, you may be disappointed, but growing the courage to do that, it can make you feel empowered, and feeling empowered is good for the pain. I know that when I feel a little bit empowered, I realize that I also feel a little bit less discomfort as well. So I highly encourage you to grow those positive expectations in your heart and allow possibility to live there. When interstitial cystitis entered my life, I remember feeling so sad that I could no longer drink and eat many of my favorite foods. I wish I had known that the sadness and despair and frustration I felt were probably making the symptoms feel worse. I wish I had known that a little more positivity, a little more relaxed and optimistic attitude would help my brain sort those pain signals in a way that perhaps would have helped me experience a little less pain. If I had known that, I would have made more of an effort to feel happier, more hopeful, despite the symptoms. But as it was, I didn't know. All I knew was that things were too serious, too bleak for me to have fun. And after all, how could I feel sick and feel happy at the same time? It just didn't make sense. But as the years passed and nothing changed, I had to start asking myself some questions. Was I going to allow the pain and discomfort of these chronic conditions to define my life, to live my life for me? Was I going to allow them to put a hold on my happiness forever? Was I going to allow fear to keep pushing that pause button on calm? And I think that my journey towards wellness began when I started asking these questions and decided to put a big red billboard sign with the word no right in front of my mind where my brain could read it every day. The thing about pain is that it always seems to be pulling at us, making us forget our emotional potential. And really, I had to begin challenging this belief that I had that just because I felt pain, that I couldn't feel happy. Yes, I experienced the pain and discomfort of two chronic conditions, but that doesn't mean that I can't fully, wholeheartedly commit to feeling happier, more emotionally healthy, more hopeful, with or without the pain and discomfort. When I decided not to allow pain and discomfort to limit the potential in me and took that vow to feel good, for better or for worse, whether I was symptom-free or not, I didn't know how far that potential stretched. I didn't know if I could really manage to feel happier and healthier, even when I was experiencing the pain. So in the beginning, I had to fake those emotions. I had to keep telling myself and imagining that I was feeling happier, I was feeling healthier, so that my brain and the cells in my bladder and my digestive system in my body could listen. I had to focus on having thoughts and conversations inside myself that reassured and calmed me, that relaxed me and made me feel that I could trust and be hopeful that yes, life would get better, that I would get better. And as I did this, something amazing happened along the way. I really did start to feel the potential in me to create good feelings, and that yes, those good feelings could exist right alongside the pain and discomfort. Sometimes it seemed as though the pain and discomfort of the IC of the IBS would take a holiday, and I'd be feeling so good. But then unexpectedly, I would experience a flare-up. And of course, there was this disappointment. Oh my gosh, they're back. But also the fear, the thought, is this flare-up going to go away? And in that moment, though, I would realize how important it was to keep asking myself those questions. Am I going to allow this flare-up to put my sense of security, my calm on hold? Am I going to allow this stressful life situation to steal my happiness? Am I going to allow this flare-up to take away my happiness from me? And of course, the answer was no. So I would make the sign bigger, brighter, and make my brain read it as many times as I had to. If anything else, these flare-ups have taught me that yes, I can react from a place of fear, but that I can observe myself doing that and begin to respond from a greater sense of calm resourcefulness. And that making my brain read that no really fed a resolve in me to make it safe for me to believe, to think that yes, this flare-up would come and go. If the pain and discomfort of your diagnosis is pulling you towards unease and worry, reminding you that you can't feel a little relaxed, a little happier until you're completely healthy and symptom-free, try doing what I do. Ask yourself those questions. Make that big sign with the word no on it. Make it in any color you want and put it in the front of your mind, in the front of your refrigerator, anywhere that you want, and make your brain read it. Because when you do, you open yourself to the possibility that despite the pain and discomfort, you can feel a little happier, a little more relaxed anyway.